What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to be shooting a 300 Remington Ultra Mag at some sheet metal. I'm going to be using some 16 gauge steel sheet metal, and I'm going to be shooting some 300 Remington Ultra Mag hand loads with 160 grain steel core bullets, guys. Check this out. These are actually the M2AP bullets. These are pulled from old 3006 M2AP rounds from the Cold War era. You can actually see some dents in this bullet, but it does have a steel core, and these are hand loads, and they're producing a muzzle velocity of around 3,600 feet per second and a muzzle energy of 4,600 foot-pounds. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be placing these 1 foot by 1 foot square sheets of 16 gauge steel sheet metal in a wooden jig, and that's going to space the sheets about 1.5 inches apart. And I want to see how many sheets that steel core bullet will penetrate through. And the rifle I'm going to be using is my CZ550 Custom, and I have a 26-inch barrel and a Silencer Co. Hybrid 46, and the barrel was made by Krieger Barrels, and it's a light Palma contour. I have a Bell & Carlson tactical stock here, a Burris XTR2 5-25 power scope, and a Navratl Arms bolt knob, solid steel bolt knob. So I'm going to be shooting at the sheet metal from 50 yards away. This is what the sheet metal looks like. So it's 16 gauge, so it's a 1/16 of an inch thick. And I'm really curious to see how many sheets this 160 grain steel core bullet traveling at 3,600 feet per second will penetrate through. So let's see what happens, guys. 300 RUM, 160 grain steel core. All right, guys, so 300 Remington Ultra Mag, 160 grain steel core M2AP versus 16 gauge sheet metal. How many sheets did it go through? Here's the first sheet. Nothing really to report too interesting, just a clean 30 caliber hole. Here we have the second sheet, punched through like a piece of paper. Here we have the third sheet, and you can see that hole is getting larger as we go through these sheets, and you can see some lead dust here. Check that out, some jacket material. Here we have the fourth sheet. Here we have the fifth sheet. Check that out. Here we have the sixth sheet. Right there is our hole. And here we have our seventh sheet. Looks like the bullet has started to tumble at this point. Here we have the eighth sheet. Bullet's still in a vertical position, but it's still penetrating. Here we have the ninth sheet. There's our hole right there. Here we have the 10th sheet, and there's our hole right there. So it looks like the bullet was sideways at that point. And then here we have the 11th sheet, and it did not penetrate through the 11th sheet. This hole is from the 338 Lapua test. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link in the top right corner. I recommend you watch it. But you can see that the steel core bounced off the 11th sheet right there, and you can see like a little tiny hole right there, but it did not penetrate. So very interesting results. I was actually surprised. I thought with a steel core bullet going 3,600 feet per second, generating 4,600 foot-pounds, that it would penetrate through 15, 20, maybe 25 sheets, but no, it only penetrated through 10 sheets, which is still a lot. 10 sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal is a lot of steel. These are steel sheets of sheet metal. However, that's roughly the same amount of penetration I get with my 300 Win Mag and my 308 at the same distance. So that's kind of disappointing. However, at longer distances, at extreme ranges, the Ultra Mag would definitely out-penetrate the Win Mag and the 308 simply because their velocities start to fall off a lot quicker than the Ultra Mag does. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Very surprising results. If you want to see more 300 Remington Ultra Mag content, check out my 300 Remington Ultra Mag playlist. I'll leave a link in the top right corner. And until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.